Jacob, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Drew. But wouldn't Moriarty disappear out of the holodeck?
I think the only thing holographic is your brain. No, you fool, we're going to review an animated movie on this here podcast.
Brilliant! No, wait. Why would anybody want to listen to two geeks like us?
Because, you fool, these people are so very easily entertained.
Okay, Drew. Narf!
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is old Bushel Britches himself, Jacob.
Wow, okay, that's a deep one right there. All right, why thank you. I'd like to introduce our co-host, a man who is doing his royal duty by collecting taxes for the king. Welcome, Drew.
We both went with the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yes,
what does that tell you about our way of thinking?
I don't know.
How are you doing today, Jacob?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Kind of an interesting story today. Kind of not brag on a coworker, but a guy I've known for many years. He walked into work, and I could see him from a distance. He clocks in, goes to his business. Well, I clock out at my time, which is 4, and be around the corner where the chips are, and there he is standing, and I turn around, he's got a black eye. I'm like, okay, did he get in a fight? Did he fall or something? And I asked him, be like, hey, I'm not going to use his name because I don't want to, embarrass him or whatever.
Whatever. Heaven help you if he's listening to this and doesn't want to be known.
No, but yeah, so it'd be like, it's like, yeah, what's going on? Be like, yeah, what's wrong with your eye? It's like, yeah, he starts to explain it. It's like, yeah, I was on a roof. He was doing something on a roof, and apparently he was wearing like worn out shoes. And the next thing he knows, he loses his footing and falls face first into the ground.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
I can see how that would give you a black eye.
Yeah. Luckily, it was only a 1-story building.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely do praying for that you get that healed pretty good, because apparently he had to go home because it was too much pain.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah, my day's been, Tuesdays are relatively slow in the grocery industry.
Even during the middle of a crisis.
Yeah, pandemic, what have you. But it'd be like you would have, waves. It'd be like you'd be busy, slow, and be slow for, no, like an hour and a half. And then it would pick up, and you're dealing with personal dramas all day, or people telling you about what their life story, and be like you probably experienced that when working at where you previously worked.
Yes, where I previously worked.
Yes,
not where I currently work now because, well, I don't speak Spanish, so.
So yeah, that has been my week so far. How's your week been?
Oh, my week's been good so far. So this job that we've been working on for the past months, that has given me so much headache just because of how weird it is. It looks like it might actually be going through, but we'll see.
Really?
Yeah, we might have gotten a PO. I don't know, but anyway.
Hey, there we go.
So there's that, and nothing else really. I mean, it's been with the virus, everything is kind of slowed down, but also strangely enough, not much has changed.
Okay.
Not as it feels like we're kind of back to where we were before.
Yeah, kind of back to normalcy. Yeah.
Except we're all still walking around in masks.
True.
So yeah, that's how it is where I'm working. So
okay, yeah,
that's pretty much my week because yeah,
that's what like where I work. When it first came through, that I work at a grocery store, and be like, we got slammed so hard with like everybody buying everything. It was very similar to when I started back in 2001 with 9/11, and it was very similar to that, but be like after a month or so, everything's calmed down, and people are coming in buying things. Obviously, people are wearing masks, and people are kind of be like, you need to wear a mask. It's like, well, Be like, the CDC says it's a requirement, and our company says you can wear a mask if you want to. If you don't want to, you're perfectly within your right not to. So I don't wear a mask.
All right. Well, I do have one question, though, before we move on.
Right.
Do you have toilet paper yet?
Oh, plenty.
No, I don't mean you.
Oh!
I mean this where you work.
Yes, they have toilet paper.
I may be making a visit by your place of business tomorrow.
I gotcha.
Because I'm low.
Okay. So I will make
no. You don't have to hide one for me. As much as I'd appreciate that, you don't have to hide one.
That's fine. I can hold one up front for you.
There's no need. I will fight for it with everybody else.
Okay, fine then.
And if not, I still have the method I was using beforehand.
I don't know what that is.
You don't want to know what that is.
This guy.
So, moving right along.
Yes.
Jacob, what have you been watching?
All right. So, I just finished watching Cowboy Bebop on a DVD. And that is a beautiful series. It's an anime, by the way, for those who don't know what Cowboy Bebop is.
It's a classic, too.
Yeah, it's a classic. Came out in like the late 90s.
Especially watch it if you like jazz, because the entire soundtrack is jazz.
Yeah, jazz and American music, and it's an anime.
Well, it's not American music; it's American-styled music.
Yeah,
it's written by a Japanese woman.
True.
And performed by her band.
Yeah.
I know too much.
Yeah.
Sorry, I am interrupting you again.
No,
Continue.
No. Yeah. So, like you're opening in this entire the opening scene in Cowboy Bebop Tank, which anybody who's watched is amazing, or Real Funk Blues. Be like just classic songs, classic characters, classic storytelling, just done very well, and just point A. So
I was just underlying what you were saying.
Yes, yeah, it's thoroughly enjoyable show that I would highly recommend. It be like if you're not an anime fan or not. And you don't have to fully understand everything that's, culturally or anything. It's just a fun story, and I enjoy the movie. I enjoy it. Be like, that's why I have it on DVD. I would probably enjoy it at some point getting it on Blu-ray.
I think I've got it on Blu-ray.
Ah,
it is a good transfer.
Oh, okay, but yeah, that's what I'm watching. What have you been watching?
Well, animation-wise, I have not watched a whole lot, simply because things haven't been that nice. I've been wanting to watch other things.
Yeah.
So I'm watching through some Doctor Who, trying to get caught up on the last season that aired earlier this year. And I sorted and started working through my grandpa's John Wayne collection that I inherited. I watched the first movie, because I'm watching them chronologically.
Yeah.
So the first one I watched was his. It's not his debut, because there's a couple movies he was in before this where he was kind of had a
small cameos.
Not really a cameo, but he was an extra for the most part, or just a small role. This was the first time he was the lead.
That's right, cameos.
And apparently it was one of the first widescreen movies, though it's in a failed format.
Really?
Yeah, it's not the one you would get later on in the 50s with CinemaScope?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's CinemaScope, yeah. No, this was something called Grandeur. It's like 70 millimeter.
Right.
It's a failed format. It like 3 or 4 movies were made for it, and it was dropped because the movie theaters had already done an expensive upgrade putting speaker audio into their theaters, and they couldn't afford to put in a new wide screens and new cameras.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I'm watching the 4:3 version, which apparently the way they shot it is not quite as good, but it's still an interesting movie. For what it is. It's essentially about the movie's. I think I said the movie is called The Big Trail. It is essentially about the Oregon Trail. This group going down the Oregon Trail, and John Wayne's character is the scout trying to see.
I gotcha,
because he's a trapper.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been watching. Also, I've been playing some video games recently.
Yeah.
Just to get into that. Of course, if you're following us on our Twitch channel, you'll know we are about 7 to 8 hours into Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah. Which is really fun to watch.
You can still go watch that over there, and I believe it's also on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Which is the Cellcast. And then I have been playing, of course, a little bit of Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone back and kind of restarted Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I am also working my way through Persona 5 Royal. So that's, along with what I've been watching, that's what I've been playing. And that's what's taken up a lot of my time.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of playing video games, I had texted you, I think it was Saturday.
Saturday.
It was Saturday. And because there again, I don't play a lot of video games. I don't.
Right.
Primarily, I watch video games because I just enjoy them. But I just had this I've had this idea be like, I want to buy a Nintendo Switch at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, one, I need to get myself familiar with controls and what have you, instead of be like, wait a minute, Drew's got most of the minis for NES and the Super NES.
That's the only 2 minis, and I got lucky on both of those.
Yeah. And so I asked him, and he very graciously allowed me to borrow both of them. And oddly enough, I hurt my hand on Friday at work.
Before he asked me.
Before I asked him, didn't think about it. And because it was hurting because I'd be like not damaged, but I had strained my hand, like pushing boxes of all things.
It's possible.
Yeah. So, I was having surging pains, going all the way through to my forearm. It was, and as soon as we're done here, I'm probably gonna go and play some Mario or what have you.
So, which one are you going to play first? That's what I'm curious.
Probably Super NES.
So you're probably thinking of Super Mario World?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, something fun.
That is fun.
Yeah.
So, what do we got in the news?
Not a whole lot. All right. So it's kind of a sad day in animation history or news right now. Apparently, the classic animation creator of Popeye and Tom and Jerry, Gene Ditch. I might be pronouncing the name wrong. Deitch.
I think it's Deitch.
Yeah, Deitch. Yeah, apparently he passed away on Sunday at the age of 95. So for all of you who basically grew up watching Tom and Jerry or Popeye or something like that, this was the creator behind that, those classic animations, and he'll be truly missed because that'd be to
be clear, this is not the original comic artist for Popeye.
No. This is the creator of them.
Right. Well, the creator was the comic.
Yeah, he created the comic book. Or
are you?
Well, either way,
he worked on the cartoon because I don't.
Yeah,
think
he was the animator. That's right. I'm sorry.
He's the animator.
He was the animator. I'm sorry.
I can give you Tom and Jerry because I don't know who exactly created that for Hanna-Barbera, but I think it's a different guy who wrote the Popeye comic strip.
Yeah, I misread my own notes.
It happens.
It happens. Surprise to nobody.
We never claim to be perfect.
No, we don't.
So earlier today, as of this recording, which is Tuesday, April 21st, HBO Max announced their actual release date, which is end of May. I don't remember the exact date, and that's not what I've got on here.
Interesting.
But one of the shows that they showed on there that's coming out on the service on day one, Looney Tunes cartoons.
Yes, I saw that.
That trailer is amazing.
Okay.
If you've not watched it yet, it actually does. It is not the classic Looney Tunes, bear in mind, but it is. It looks like how they would have made Looney Tunes today if the original creators were still doing it. It's not quite as. It didn't look quite as slapstick. But it was a little bit more. Well, there was some slapstick, but anyway, that was something I saw earlier today.
Well, that's cool.
So see, you're not the only one who keeps an eye out for news. It's just half the time I can't think. You've already gotten everything.
Yeah.
I'm backup. That's all I am is backup.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Because I remember seeing that, but it just didn't dawn on me. It's like
it wasn't where you could put it in your notes.
True.
When you saw it. That's all it is.
Yeah. In fact, it'd be like I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw, that, and when I saw that bit, and it's like, oh yeah, I better read that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all that's currently in the news
that we are aware of.
Yes. Right now, like in the chat, actually, Jim Heron, Jim Bob, just posted, and this is really sad. It kind of breaks my heart. Apparently, Scoob, the CG movie that's supposed to come out.
Yeah, I know it had been put on hold for a bit.
Yeah, apparently now it's going straight to digital.
Oh, that stinks. I wanted to see that one on the big screen.
Come on, Warner Brothers.
I mean, Georgia already is opening up their theaters this Friday. Not that they have anything to show,
right?
But come on,
man. Well, it's gonna be on digital, so the chance to be like they'll put it in theaters.
Yeah,
like somebody.
There is still a chance they might put it in for a short run.
Right.
Like, well, I say Onward got a short run. It had already come out before the coronavirus thing really hit over here, but maybe they'll do something like that.
Maybe.
Worst case scenario, I have a proposition for you that just crossed my mind.
What would that be?
So I may have to cut this out if we decide not to do this.
Okay.
And I'll do another mark just in case. Okay. We could do a watch party. We can't show the video, obviously.
Yeah.
But we could set up the webcam.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And, make it where they can't hear what's coming over the TV speakers, where we can hear it.
Yeah.
So we don't, get a copyright claim.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be fun.
And they can just listen to us react to it.
Yeah.
Maybe go ahead and they can throw it up on their screen and watch it while
exactly.
we're watching.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That could be fun. We'll have to look into, we will have to look into that.
That does sound like fun. So, like,
keep an eye out for future possibilities on this.
So if you guys would like us to do that, let us know. That'd be, to me, it's like, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, Scooby's like, yeah.
I wonder if I should take the Christmas tree down before then.
No.
I'll actually have to light it up is what I'll have to do. Anyway.
All right. So, yes, that would be fun. That'd be so much fun.
All righty. So now let's move into our spoiler-free section on the movie, on a review of Robin Hood, 1973. Yes, the one made with wild animals playing the parts.
Yes.
I say wild animals, but anyway.
Wild.
You are a nuts.
I know I am.
I'm not saying anything you don't already know. Okay, so I'm fairly certain that this is one of those that I watched on one of my grandpa's bootlegged VHSs. Mm-hmm. I know I watched it a couple times, and because I remembered large portions of this movie.
Right.
But I knew I had seen it before, and I remember liking this movie when I was a kid, and I'm fairly certain I had to have worn this part of the VHS out. I don't know where this was in contrast with Lady and the Tramp, which I wore out even more, apparently. But I do know I watched this a bunch as a kid, and I loved it. And going back to it now, it's amazing how many of the songs I could immediately sing along with.
Yeah.
At least 3 of them.
Okay.
3 of the, 5 songs in this movie. This is just such a fun movie. I enjoyed it. It was a great time. And it's the story of Robin Hood with animals.
True.
How much more can you really talk about that without actually getting into it? So, what are your thoughts?
I have a huge nostalgia for. I have a large nostalgia for this film. Mm-hmm. There again, it was one of those VHSs that we had as kids, and just we didn't wear it out, but it's such a timeless classic story, classic movie that is just timeless and classic that I still enjoy. I enjoyed it as a kid. I still enjoy it as an adult, and it's one of those films that if you have not watched it, what are you doing? Go watch it. You can currently watch it on Disney Plus.
Yes,
and go enjoy it. And kind of an odd story, kind of Providence. Let's say that.
Okay.
Let's say that. So yesterday, I get home from work. Now, mind you, I already have Robin Hood on Blu-ray,
Yes.
So I get home, and there's a package from Disney Movie Club sitting on my door. I'm thinking nothing of it. So I unlock the door, drop my gear, and sit down, and I'm just like unzipping this package.
Yeah, I haven't. I think I got the same one, but I haven't opened it yet.
Yeah, it's Robin Hood.
Okay.
Yeah, Providence.
I'm curious if the quality is better on the Blu-ray than it was on the streaming, but I bet it's the same thing.
Possibly, and apparently, due to the pandemic going on right now, apparently Disney Movie Club is going to start. They're going to start sending out like little gifts to all of its
good reason not
members.
to have left the service yet.
Yes,
because I have been thinking of it now with Disney Plus out. Not much reason to have it with the streaming, so much available for streaming.
Right.
It's a good thing I haven't switched off of it yet.
Right.
So yeah, I think then we're going to move into our spoiler-filled section of the review. So I guess we'll see you on the other side.
Yep.
The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie Robin Hood. Listener discretion is advised. Robin Hood was directed by Wolfgang Reitherman, who also directed 101 Dalmatians, The Sword and the Stone, last week's episode of The Jungle Book, and The Aristocats. If any of those sound familiar, if any of those didn't sound familiar, don't worry. You'll hear a lot of those movie names over and over again here over the next couple minutes. It was written by Larry Clemens, who wrote The Fox and the Hound and The Aristocats. The music was composed by George Burns, who also composed The Jungle Book, The Love Bug, and The Sword and the Stone. The song Love was written by Floyd Huddleston and George Burns and sung by Nancy Adams. Floyd Huddleston also wrote Everybody Wants to Be a Cat from The Aristocats.
Yeah.
The Phony King of England was written by Johnny Mercer, who also wrote Jeepers Creepers, You Must Have Been a Beautiful Baby, and That Old Black Magic.
Huh.
Oodalolly, Not in Nottingham, and Whistle Stop, and playing the role of Alan Adale was Roger Miller, who is a songwriter and country musician, and he wrote and performed the songs King of the Road and Kansas City Star.
Huh.
Continuing on into the cast, we've got Peter Ustinov playing Prince John and King Richard, and he is one of the actors who's played Hercule Poirot back in the day.
Really?
On the 1978 version of Death on the Nile, and a couple of stuff after that point.
Okay.
Terry Thomas plays Sir Hiss. He was known for playing J. Algernon Hawthorne in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Okay.
Brian Bedford plays Robin Hood. There was a movie called Nixon that he played a character named Clyde Tolson on, but I had never heard of it. So my apologies there.
My question would be which Nixon? There's a few movies called Nixon.
I should have put the year on it. My apologies. I didn't think of that.
It's all good.
Monica Evans plays Maid Marian, and she played Abigail in The Aristocats. You know, the mother cat.
Yes.
I think that's the mother cat's name. It's not, or was the mother cat's name? It's been a while since I've seen The Aristocats. So this must have been one of the daughters.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, there's only one daughter.
Yeah, the daughter. That's my guess. I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I watched The Aristocats.
Yeah.
And I wrote these notes yesterday, so... Phil Harris plays Little John. He was, of course, Baloo in The Jungle Book.
Yeah.
O'Malley in The Aristocats. And the narrator and Patoo in Rockadoodle.
Okay.
I know you hadn't seen that one, but
I have not seen Rockadoodle. Don
Bluth.
Yes.
Sorry. That's the Don Bluth movie I grew up with.
Oh, okay.
And remember fondly.
Gotcha.
Andy Devine plays Friar Tuck. He played the character of Buck in Stagecoach and Link Appleyard in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Oh, okay. That's where that voice sounds familiar from.
Carol Shelley plays Lady Cluck. She played Lachesis in Hercules. That's one of the Fates.
Oh, okay.
In case you're trying to figure out who that character is.
I had
to look that name up.
Who in the world is this?
Yes. And Gwendolyn in The Odd Couple.
Ah.
Pat Buttram plays the Sheriff of Nottingham. He was Chief in The Fox and the Hound, Luke in The Rescuers, and for those lovers of the classic television show Green Acres, he is Mr. Haney.
Interesting point about the Sheriff of Nottingham. Originally, he was supposed to be a pig.
Yes, and they changed it.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't the sheriff. That was supposed to be the pig. It was actually the friar. Friar Tuck was supposed to be the pig.
That's right. He was supposed
and they were afraid of offending people in the church. George Lindsay played Trigger, and he is most famous for playing Goober Pyle in the Andy Griffith Show.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ken Curtis was Nutsy, and he's known as for playing Festus in Gunsmoke.
Okay.
They literally took two of the most American shows on television, took the quote-unquote idiots from those shows, and made them the vultures. I find this hilarious.
Yeah. Kind of like in the Jungle Book where
they're good-natured idiots. We like them for
that. That is true. That is so true.
Idiot is actually the wrong term, but anyway.
Yeah.
Nincompoops. Nincompoops, yes.
That's a good one.
Candy Candido was the captain of the guard. That was the alligator.
Oh, yeah.
He was Fidget in The Great Mouse Detective and the Indian Chief in Peter Pan.
Oh, okay.
John Fielder was Father Sexton. That's the male church mouse.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He is Piglet in Winnie the Pooh. And in the old True Grit movie, he is Lawyer Daggett. The John Wayne True Grit movie.
Okay.
Dana Loretta was the sister rabbit, and she played a character named Mandy in Gunsmoke.
Okay.
Barbara Luddy was the mother church mouse and mother rabbit. She was Lady in Lady and the Tramp, Kanga in Winnie the Pooh, and Merryweather in Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, okay.
J. Pat O'Malley played Otto. In The Jungle Book, he was Colonel Hathy. He was both Colonel and Jasper in 101 Dalmatians and the Walrus in Alice in Wonderland. Richie Sanders played Toby, and this is his only role ever.
Really?
This is the only thing he's got on the IMDb.
Huh.
Billy Whitaker plays Skippy. His only other role was Peter in a movie called Heidi in the Mountains.
Yeah.
And what I'm assuming is his sister, Dory Whitaker, played Tagalong. That's the younger sister rabbit. And she is Roo in Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
So we've got both Kanga and Roo.
Interesting.
And they're still playing each other's relations, family members.
It works.
Yeah. What we got on box office on this thing?
All right. So to give more rating, the trend that we're doing now, on IMDb, it's 7.6 out of 10, which is really good. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a score of 54% and an 81% score on audience score and a 57% on Metacritic.
Okay.
All right, so you can watch this. You can watch this movie basically anywhere now. You can go watch it on. I think it's on YouTube. You can buy it for like $3.99 or $9.99. One of those. You can watch it movies anywhere. Disney Plus. I
watched it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and just by any legal means any necessary.
Yes.
Please don't pirate this movie. All right, so
just because Robin Hood robs from the rich to give to the poor doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, it's a very
There's a different reasoning.
Yeah, just
such different context.
Little bit. It was produced by Walt Disney Productions. It was distributed by Buena Vista Distribution, or Walt Disney.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it was released on November 8th, 1973. It had a budget of $5 million. Now, the numbers on this movie is kind of hard to find. I literally was looking through 3 or 4 different sites to try to find, and you can't find an exact number.
Okay.
All right, so we don't have a U.S. opening release number. We don't have any of that. We do have a estimated gross for its U.S. and domestic was somewhere between 32 and $35 million.
Okay.
And apparently it's grossed much more after that over the past 4 decades.
Okay.
With re-releases, it was released again in like 1987 in theaters, because that's the Disney thing to do. And
that was the old method with the Disney Vault and everything.
Yeah. No, it was every 5 years. So it'd been like 1982 or something like that when I was born. And then be like, it's VHS, it's you know, Laserdisc, what have you. It'd be like it's
capacitance disc.
Huh?
Capacitance disc.
Capacitance.
You had never heard of before.
No, I never. And honestly, you only explain it to me.
The only reason I've heard of it is because I have an interest in old technology, and I watch a lot of YouTube channels on how all this stuff worked.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, this movie is apparently, because it's been in pseudo production since Snow White.
Right. I'd seen that.
Yeah. Apparently.
Or it had been a concept for a long time since Snow White.
Right.
Because this was like one of the ones that they were. This is like one of the original thoughts that Walt Disney had for the first movie.
Yeah, because originally he wanted to do it's a British. It was like a British story about a fox, which I can't. His name is eluding me at the moment.
Like Rayburn or something.
Yeah,
like
Rayburn.
That.
That's it. Thank you. It is Rayburn.
I'm not remembering correctly. I'm sure.
Right. But. Yeah, it didn't. You know, Walt wanted to do it, but they scrapped it, and then it was brought up again throughout the decades, and eventually the late '60s they finally got around to actually doing it. Yeah, so this movie has a very interesting history when it comes to its production. The production history on this is very wide and very different. It's not like Tangle was in production for 10 years. It wasn't in production. It was more along the lines of, hey, that sounds like a great idea. Hey, let's start doing some ideas and draw preliminary sketches for characters and what have you. And like we said before, the fact that Friar Tuck was originally supposed to be a pig, but due to the writers and animators being more conscientious of what the Christian church and the Catholics and the Muslims would think about this, probably not the wisest thing to make your holy man a pig.
Okay, so now we'll get into the summary. Our story is narrated by the rooster Alan Adale, who explains that Robin Hood and Little John live in Sherwood Forest, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor townsfolk of Nottingham. Meanwhile, Prince John, who is King of England, sends his lead henchman, the Sheriff of Nottingham, to catch the two, but he fails every time. Meanwhile, Prince John and his assistant, Sir Hiss, arrive in Nottingham. Sir Hiss previously had hypnotized Prince John's brother, King Richard, to go off on the Crusades, allowing Prince John to take the throne. Unfortunately, the prince is greedy and immature, even sucking his thumb whenever his mother is mentioned. Robin Hood and Little John rob Prince John by disguising themselves as fortune tellers, prompting the prince to put a bounty on their heads, and makes the sheriff his personal tax collector. The sheriff taxes Friar Tuck and a family of rabbits. However, Robin gives back some money to the rabbits, giving his hat and archery kit to the young rabbit Skippy for his birthday. Skippy and his friends test out the archery kit, but Skippy fires an arrow into the grounds of Maid Marian's castle. The children sneak inside, meeting Maid Marian and her attendant, Lady Cluck.
Lady in waiting.
It actually just says her attendant here, but I said lady. But anyway. And her attendant, Lady Cluck. Maid Marian reveals she and Robin were childhood sweethearts, but they have not seen one another for years. Friar Tuck visits Robin and Little John, explaining that Prince John is hosting an archery tournament, and the winner will receive a kiss from Maid Marian. Robin agrees to participate in the tournament disguised as a stork, while Little John disguises himself as the Duke of Chutney to get near Prince John. Sir Hiss discovers Robin's identity, but is trapped in a barrel of ale by Friar Tuck and Alan Adale. Robin wins the tournament, but Prince John exposes him and has him arrested for execution despite Maid Marian's pleas. Little John threatens Prince John, leading to a fight between Robin, Little John, Maid Marian, Lady Cluck, and Prince John's soldiers. And I will say this leads to one of my favorite lines in the movie. Seize the fat one! In the forest, Robin and Maid Marian fall in love again as the townsfolk sing a song mocking Prince John, describing him as the phony King of England. Enraged by the song, Prince John triples the taxes, imprisoning most of the townsfolk who cannot or refuse to pay their taxes. The sheriff visits Friar Tuck's church to steal from the poor box, enraging Friar Tuck, who viciously attacks him until he too is arrested. Prince John plans to hang Friar Tuck to lure in Robin and kill him. Robin and Little John sneak in, with Little John managing to free all the prisoners while Robin steals Prince John's taxes. But Sir Hiss awakens to find Robin fleeing. Chaos follows as Robin and the others try to escape to Sherwood Forest. The sheriff corners Robin after he is forced to return to return to rescue Skippy's younger sister, Tagalong, setting fire to Prince John's castle and causing Robin to leap from a tower into the moat below. Little John and Skippy watch as the moat is pelted with arrows and Robin is apparently shot and drowned, only for him to emerge unharmed after using a reed as a breathing tube. Prince John despairs and is driven into a blind rage while Sir Hiss points out that his mother's castle is on fire. Later, King Richard returns to England, placing his brother and his cohorts under arrest and allowing Robin and Maid Marian to be married and leave Nottingham, with Little John and Skippy in tow. So, if it's all right, I'm going to go ahead and jump into my first like.
Okay.
My first like for this movie is the music.
Okay.
The music in this movie is so fun. I grew up with country music.
Okay.
And I don't just mean the 90s stuff. I mean classic style country music. So
Cash Haggard.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, my dad plays bluegrass on guitar, so I've heard a lot of the old stuff from multiple sources.
Yeah.
And with lots of starts and stops, but that's just what you do when you're trying to learn how to play a song.
Right.
And I'll also admit that Roger Miller was a singer that me and my dad kind of liked a lot. We had a audio cassette that had a lot of his songs on it that we used to sing in the car.
Yeah.
So there's hearing that voice again, singing the three songs he sings in here is, it's reminiscent.
Yeah.
It's nostalgic. And the songs in here are just so much fun. So yeah, that's my first like. What's your first like?
Yeah. The story in this movie is not incredibly complex. There's no real, there's not a lot of meat to it, but it's still a very well executed, very well told story that is very enjoyable, very engaging. And obviously it's a story about Robin Hood and anthropomorphic, characters.
Yes.
And it's so much fun. It's such a fun, captivating story that just holds you from the first frame to the very end of the frame. And, there again, I enjoyed it as a child and I enjoyed it as an adult. And kind of doing a little bit of research on, because this actually comes out of a historical record. This comes out of like the 12th century. Yeah. Where obviously you have King Richard the Lionheart, who had been proclaimed king, but he was a warrior king at heart, so he was never in England more than like 6 weeks, his entire reign. And so he went out to fight the Crusades, and his sneaky little brother, little brother Prince John, who apparently the idea that that Prince John in the movie, he sucks his thumb every time his mother's mentioned. Yes, because historically Prince John was his mother's favorite, where King Richard was his father's favorite because he was the oldest. He was the oldest of the boys, and the way they portray Prince John in this film comes nowhere near how dastardly and ruthless this guy actually was in history. And it's very fascinating because I watched like 1 or 2 documentaries over it, and it was, oh my gosh, because there are a lot of betrayals of Prince John. I distinctly remember Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, of how, I'm drawing a blank on his name for the second. The one who played Prince John.
Costner?
No.
No one Costner.
No, that was yeah. He played Prince John. Be like, I feel terrible for a second, but the actor in question, for our audience listening to this, just let us know how much of a goober I am forgetting the actor's name. But his portrayal of Prince John was almost spot on. How ruthless and diabolical this guy was. The fact to be like he was going to usurp his brother, King Henry. I mean, not King Henry. Yeah, that's another bad king. King Richard, while he was on crusade, and he aligned himself with the French.
Are you sure it's Prince John in
Prince of Thieves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that character is not even listed in the movie.
Okay. Weird.
Now, Sheriff of Nottingham was played by Alan Rickman, who is always a dastardly person.
That's right. My mistake. Alan Rickman. Well, I think they kind of took both characters and amalgamated to one.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing anywhere on the cast list Prince John.
Yeah, that was yeah. That is weird. But anyways, the actual Prince John, or they call it a Mad Prince John in history. Mm-hmm. And he was not a savory fellow. He was not what they would call noble. He wasn't a knight in shining armor as most kings were, princes were. He was the guy. He just did whatever he wanted, and darn the consequences.
Right.
And he backstabbed and double crossed everybody. He killed a lot of people. He apparently he did a lot of dastardly things and a lot of terrible things. And just the fact that Robin Hood came out of that era, mm-hmm. because people were like, we are really tired of Prince John, and Prince John actually wound up becoming King John after his brother had passed away. And oddly enough, he got himself, made himself king, because it'd be like, apparently King Richard the Lionheart was a little too busy fighting wars to actually do his kingly duty, if you catch my drift. And so he became the King Henry's successor. And so that's where we get the myth of Robin Hood. And there are a lot of very interesting ideas of like who Robin Hood was. Did he really exist? There was actually, in the records, they found that there is a Robin Hood of Locksley.
Yeah, Robin of Locksley.
Yeah, an actual person in records.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. And I there again, I'm a history nerd, and I love this kind of stuff. So when you're going through history and trying to figure out the truth from myth, and a lot of it's actually true. And so yeah, he was a bit of a coward, he didn't suck his thumb like our cowardly liony version of Prince John is. Mm-hmm. But he's darn close. If they would have gone with the alternative ending of this movie, yeah, if you've seen it, it's dark, because apparently they don't stop with Robin diving into the creek or river or what have you and get pelted by arrows. Apparently he's dragged to somewhere where Maid Marian's taking care of him, and Prince John and Hiss show up and apparently are going to kill Robin until King Richard shows up. And so it concludes with the same ending as in the original, but it was like, ooh, we actually get a little glimpse, just a itty bitty little glimpse of like who the real Prince John was. Yeah. And I found that fascinating. So mine was a kind of the storytelling side of the movie and what actually happened in history. And I was just like, ooh, this is fun. So what is your number dos?
One little note about the history of this you didn't mention. That was a little bit. The movie technically got wrong. Yeah. None of the characters were animals.
That is true. and plus, it'd be like, as our narrator says, be like, well, be like, this is the true story. I'll be like, is it true? No,
Well,
whatever.
well, what he says is, there's lots of legends about this Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Well, even in the animal world, we have ours, and this is it.
Yeah, this is the version of this story.
Exactly. So my second is the animation in certain parts.
Yeah.
I'm wording it that way specifically because of how my dislike, one of my dislikes coming
Gotcha.
up. But pretty much almost every action shot that is not repeated, I'll put it that way.
Right.
Like for instance, one of my favorite parts in this movie is, of course, the line "Seize the fat one," and this immediately goes into a football tackling thing that
Yes.
I know I've seen that angle somewhere besides this movie, but this is the movie I always think of.
Yeah.
But that so the action in the animation in that scene I love. I love the animation with them getting how they get the taxes out of Prince John's bedroom.
Yeah.
And I love the animation that I love the animation in the the scene where Maid Marian and Lady Cluck are playing badminton and then the kids interrupt. That's well done.
Yeah.
And then I think the last one's going to have to be the archery tournament. The way it's all the animation in those sequences is done is spot on, and I'm not going to say it's the best Disney has ever done,
Right.
But it's some of the most memorable, at least for me.
Okay.
And of course, I almost forgot the fortune-telling scene at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
That is funny, and I
Yes.
love Little John in that entire sequence. But yeah, the animation is when it's done correctly. We'll get to that. is great. It's imaginative, and they did a good job with explaining how all these animals are doing all of this, even if half the time half of them sound like they're from different parts of the world.
Yes.
But even that's not really a killer. So yeah, that's my second like.
All right.
What's yours?
My second like would be the song. The songs would be like you brought up your first. I've always enjoyed the music in this movie. And just going back and be like, because I remember as kids, we would sing these songs all the time.
Yes.
All the time. They're so memorable. And I was very surprised, actually thinking about it, the fact that these movies, the songs were not written by the
Sherman Brothers.
The Sherman Brothers. Thank you. They were not written by the Sherman Brothers, in which that kind of surprised me when I watched it for the review. I was like, really, the Sherman Brothers aren't writing this, but it's still very well done. I mean, like the songs are very catchy, they're very memorable, and like anybody who are going to be like find themselves bobbing or weaving to a song that reminiscent of this movie, and they're
including
just
if it's a bunch of little hamsters on the early internet.
Yes.
So, for those of you who are on our Facebook page and perhaps got confused this last Sunday night when I posted I intended it as a teaser, but the video at first looks nothing like the movie, and it's just this old Netscape web browser with a page from the early '90s of a bunch of hamsters dancing to a song. That song is Whistle Stop, which is also the beginning song of this movie. And that was one of the first internet memes.
Yeah.
And that version, I think, might be stuck in my head more than the original version. Even though it's kind of pitched up, so it sounds like it's the hamster singing it.
Yeah.
Despite the fact these little GIFs obviously can't sing.
Right.
But, yeah, that's what that was, in case anyone's curious. And that's kind of why the hamster dance is now officially owned by Disney, because Disney owned the music and pretty much took over the website.
Yeah, pretty much.
And ran it into the ground.
Yeah.
Like you do.
Yeah. So, very interesting when it comes to the music. So, during the end of the archery scene with the big fight and the big battle, the football scene where Lady Cluck is writing down this. Okay, that music is actually from the University of North California. It's their fighting song.
Nice.
And
that
so,
makes sense.
And so I think it's one other scene where another school song is actually being used. It's actually their other fight song. It's the University of Wisconsin, I believe. So apparently either they got the rights to use them, or...
Well, a lot of these fight songs are so old that even by this time they would have been in public domain.
Right. But I found that fascinating because I was doing research this morning, the day of recording. And, man, I was like, okay, that's cool. That's kind of a cool callback. So, yeah, the songs in this movie are so iconic. And, like... if I heard it out of context, I'd be like, okay, this just sounds like a country folk song. But within the context, it's flat out amazing.
Yes.
So, yeah, that is my number 2 like. What is your number 3 likes?
My number 3 likes is the trio of... I almost don't want to call them villains, because normally in the Robin Hood story, the Sheriff of Nottingham is the villain. But really, he's just a minion in this one, as they use Prince John as the villain.
Right.
But the Sheriff of Nottingham and Trigger and Nutsy might be my 3 favorite characters in all of Disney.
Agreed.
And it helps that we are talking about Mr. Haney, Goober, and Festus playing these roles. And it's like, how did they do that? How did they get a hold of these? And I know it's all Hollywood, and they can say, hey, you want a short role in a movie because we got Mr. Haney doing this other thing, and we got, Goober doing this. Those trio of guys are just magical in many ways, and how in their on-screen appearance. And I will just say the guy who plays Robin Hood, whose name I can't think of right now, despite the fact I said it about 30 minutes ago, his Nutsy impression is spot on.
Oh, yeah, it is.
But I really want, when it comes to the Sheriff of Nottingham, that's not really the scene that defines him.
Yeah.
The scene that defines him is at the church. And that is a scene that has stuck with me since I was a kid, about the sheriff coming in and stealing the money from the poor box to give to the government, in essence.
Yeah.
And the preacher, the friar in this instance, standing up to him. That scene is always been buried in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too political, but that is something one needs to keep a hold of. And I think whether Disney intended this at the time or not, I think you can think of it as what happens when a dictator starts taking control. This is what happens. And this is the lowest you can go, stealing money almost directly out of the poor's hands.
Yeah.
He's already stealing out of the poor's hands, but for some reason there, it doesn't seem as bad as when he comes into the church and takes it directly out of the box. And as much as I like Mr. Haney, Sheriff of Nottingham, throughout the rest of it, this is when I feel he's the most evil. And I am right there with Friar Tuck as he's telling him to get out of my church and busts him through there with his stomach. Now, of course, then he gets shackled at the same time, and leads to our ending. But that scene has stuck with me since I was a kid, and it's something I always remember. And I love how well it's actually done. Yeah. To the point where the bell is actually a real bell that they photographed and then edited into the shot.
Oh,
the church bell. So, yeah, that's my number 3 like. What's yours?
Okay. Before I get to mine, my kind of a historical, scary point. Mm-hmm. Prince John actually did that.
That does not surprise me.
Be like, to their portrayal of medieval Europe and how things ran. Be like, oh yeah, Prince John taxed the crap out of everybody. Be like, didn't matter if you were poor or not. If you were poor and you couldn't pay, be like, you got thrown into prison or died.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically what they called a serf. Well, that's more of a Russian thing where, well, like the peasants were just the workers. They didn't matter for much. And if you couldn't pay your taxes, throw you in prison or you just die.
Right.
So be like, that portrayal of in the movie historically is very accurate. minus them being animals. But that's a very good illustration of how times were under Mad Prince John.
Right.
So my number 3, I like the relationships with the characters, with Little John and Robin. There are so many just the little moments where their banter is so much fun. Just the fact to be like they're two guys that get by the skin of their teeth, and it's so much fun. And the like you said with the trio of the Sheriff Nottingham and Nutsy and Trigger, are just so much fun. And just there again with Robin and Marion and the look into my big red eyes, or just those big shots are great.
Like, wow, I bet that's interesting to see on a big screen.
It's like, oh my gosh, those are huge eyes.
I thought Nala's bedroom eyes were a little much, but then you get Maid Marian. It's like, okay, I think I understand some things.
Yeah, there was one point when I was a kid. It's where Lady Clock is be like, talk about your holding to your chastity, lass. And I didn't understand that as a kid. Now as a kid, now as an adult, I definitely understand that now.
Oh yeah,
yeah, definitely for someone who is in that situation. Anyway, Anyways, so the relationship between the characters. Prince John and Sir Hiss is absolutely hysterical. Hysterical that Hiss is trying his best to get Prince John to realize what's going on, and he's so oblivious to everything.
Yes.
And it's so funny, and definitely when
that
Sir
part
Hiss,
where he's in the balloon.
Yes.
It's like, okay, there's a part of me that's going, I don't think latex was around back then.
No, it wasn't.
So at best, he might be in a sheep's stomach.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is all kinds of wrong.
Yeah.
But...
and all the other things you use cheap letters for? No, let's not go there.
Let's not go there. But that scene where he's twirling his tail in order to move around, helicoptering around in his things, like, okay, that's imaginative. I can work with that.
Oh, yeah.
It's completely and utterly inaccurate to the time period.
Yeah.
But, if Sir Hiss actually existed, I doubt he was a snake.
Yeah. And then the point where Sir Hiss gets himself stuffed into the barrel of L,
and he says, "I don't drink. Don't put me in there. I don't drink alcohol." And he comes back like, "Oh, hey, by the way, did you know that the stork is actually Robin Hood?"
Robin Hood. Yeah. I love it. Just there again, the characters' relationships is how they interact, and like all the characters have really good interaction with each other. I just love it. So yeah, mine is the character relationships.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move into our dislikes. And my first dislike, I admit this is why I wanted the first like, because I want to touch on this before you get a chance to. Blatant animation reuse.
Okay, I do have an explanation for that.
Well, let me get to it. The opening sequence where they're using scenes from the movie to show off the characters, you know what? That I can live with.
Yeah.
I would prefer that at the end, but this is not at the time period where they had end credits. All the credits were in the beginning.
Yes.
Fair enough. The part where you rehear Little John talk about his fortune told and Lucky Charms, that sticks out pretty bad. But the one that got me the most, right before the archery scene, the elephants are coming in, and apparently the song must have been a touch longer than the animation was expecting.
Oh yeah, that.
Because you see the elephants, blowing their horn, snouts, whatever. They come across, the song goes again, and so the animation backs up. So the hippo that was just on screen for a short second is back off screen and comes back up. And it's not, they did not bother to put in camera speed lines to make it look like maybe the camera played catch up. Or something like that. No, it's just ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da. Oh, and replay the scene. Ba-ba-ba-ba. It's like, they didn't just do that. They did not just do that. That is the worst I have ever seen. It's one thing when we watched Oliver and Company, and you see the dogs disappear long before they get to the horizon.
Yeah.
But to actually restart the scene 5 seconds, that is 1 second after you just played it. It's like, even the kids will probably recognize this. Now, I didn't recognize this as a kid, or I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Or perhaps since I always saw it on VHS on a television, which is already a lot poor quality, maybe I assumed there was a speed lines and it was the camera move to keep up with it. I don't know. But that's not what happened. What happened is the animation restarted 1 second after it played. And it makes me go, oh, how far in such a short time from the Jungle Book we have fallen after the loss of Walt Disney. Because this is like what, the next movie?
No,
or there's like one movie in between, I think.
Yeah, there's like one other. Yeah,
and it's like a 5-year difference, I think.
Yeah,
in 5 years we went from the amazingness of Jungle Book, where there is no reuse at all ever. Every frame is original, to blatant reuse of animation 1 second after it was already on screen,
right,
with nothing to separate it.
Yeah.
That bugs me to no end. But anyway, yeah.
I agree with you on that. There was, the curse of being a reviewer.
Yes.
Is
because this is like,
you're ruining my childhood.
In many ways, this is something where if the fact that we have to watch these movies with a critical eye, and we actually do have to look for stuff we don't like.
Yeah.
Along with looking for stuff we do like. That part of the process makes you go, oh, I don't want to talk about that.
No.
That's awesome. I wish I hadn't seen it. And now every time I watch this movie, I'm going to see it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Lovely. Well, I'm going to...
What's your first dislike?
My number one dislike, it kind of harkens back to the same idea of you do. The reuse of animation, where the point I will use is where where all the little kids are laughing when you first. What scene was that? Where they get so caught up in the laughter, like the little girl, she's trying to catch her breath.
Yeah,
but it's done excellently. While in the very end scene of the Phony King of England song, be like you get the exact same scene, just colorized differently. It's the exact same thing, all except they cut off the point where she's taking in her breath. That's it. And I was just like, okay, I can't re-see that again.
Okay, I'm thankful I missed that because there was so much happening on scene at the same time.
Yeah.
That I didn't see that. But I think I was already distracted by the raccoons, which were intentionally done that way.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay, yeah. So that is our number one's kind of lined up a little bit. Just a little bit. Just more. There are a few animation errors in this movie, let's say that.
Yeah. Just a couple.
Yeah. So what is your number two?
My number two dislike. I am getting into the nitpick portion of my dislikes. I'm just going to let you know right now because this is kind of a minor one. The opening titles where they're showing off, Roger Miller as the Rooster, as Alan Adale, so-and-so is Maid Marian. So the fact that this is early digital titles that are obviously placed on there I am of the thought, because you go back to like Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Those were animated titles. Those were drawn out on celluloid for all the credits that there was going to be in the movie.
Right.
This was added after the fact, almost like this was not the original intention. Yeah. Now, admittedly, I have a feeling that opening sequence, with the exception of Alan Adale's lines, was an afterthought. Because almost all of the animation there is taken from different parts of the movie.
Right.
Which is nice, don't get me wrong. It's a little annoying, but it's obviously, okay, this is where they were saving money.
Right. And
that stinks, but they go with the cheapest possible titles. The they're the kind of things they used to use on live television.
Yeah.
When they needed to show something up really quickly. And that's what we decide to use. We don't do something with a little more snap, a little more panache, something that doesn't look like it was thought up at the last minute, just to get something out.
True.
I'm not even asking for, flashy animation. I'm just wanting something that fits the art style.
Yeah.
I think that's really what bugs me about those titles at the beginning is they are yellow text with black outlines.
Yeah.
That does not fit the motif of the movie.
Okay.
And that bugs the ever-loving snot out of me being a graphic designer.
That makes sense.
Nobody else may notice this. Granted. But those titles do not tell me that this is going to be a Robin Hood, a medieval tall tale type story, which is what it is. This tells me this was made for Saturday morning cartoons, and we didn't care.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying they didn't care because
right.
There's lots of care in this movie. None of that care is in the title.
I got you.
And that bugs me.
So you just mentioned something that I wanted to bring up. All right. So apparently in the early production of this, they were trying to think of, they wanted to use a Robin Hood theme, but where to put it. So they thought of the Wild West because one of the ideas they were going to put it in the Wild West and just make it a Robin Hood story. And then another
that could be easily done. That would be interesting.
Yeah. And another one was because apparently one of the writers was very fond of songs of the South and wanted to make another attempt to make it like the Southwest of America.
That would make sense with some of the people they hired to play characters.
That is true, but apparently the upper management was like, the Song of the South didn't do very well, and we got a lot of heat for it, so no. And they were like,
I don't know if they got a lot of heat back then for it, but
well,
not as much as you would now. This is 70s. They might have been picking up some heat after the 60s.
They were picking up heat from that movie back in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, well, yeah, 60s I understand. I don't remember when Song of the South came out.
Yeah, that was the 1950s.
Either way, I've only ever seen the animated portions of that movie, so I really have no idea
most of us have only seen the animation.
I have no idea how bad that movie actually is.
Yeah, I'd be like, they're again like...
That's where all my curiosity lies with that movie.
Yeah, I would love someone to actually just see the entire film and see what all the hubbub about is. Yeah. And so, like, maybe sometime in the future, maybe.
If Disney ever gets the guts.
Yeah, to release it.
Uncut. But anyways,
so yeah, there was a lot of ideas of where they're going to put it. And then someone was like, oh, why don't we just put it, in the 12th century?
Where Robin Hood takes place.
Yes, exactly.
Just do it that way and have animals. That's interesting enough as it is. And honestly, that's all it needed.
Yeah.
Although I still would like to see the Wild West version of it because that sounds cool. Anyway, I have interrupted you enough.
No, you're good. All right, so yeah, so that is my number 2. Thank you. Okay, my number two my dislikes are the inconsistency in animation in some places where we go back to the opening scene of where Robin Hood and Little John cross-dresses gypsies.
Yes.
and hoodwink Prince John. The scene, there's so many, because Prince John, he'll have his rings on and they get stolen, and then...
Well, the jewels get stolen.
Yeah, the jewels get stolen, but then his rings disappear, and then the amount of fingers he has disappears, and then they're back on, and then the jewels are back on.
And then later on, throughout the movie, he's got 3 rings on one hand and one ring with a big jewel on it on the other hand. And there's a scene later on where he's in the box there at the archery tournament and he has the same 3 rings on both fingers.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, both hands. It's like, what? But anyway.
Yeah, there's the huge inconsistency about the what color the jewels are on Prince John's or King Henry's crown. Be like they go from
King George.
King Richard.
King Richard.
King
Why
Richard.
did I say George. Anyway, King Richard's
well,
crown.
There's Prince George. But yeah, King Richard's crown, and there's be like sometimes they're all red, sometimes they're blue and red, sometimes it's just there's no consistency in it, and it drove me nuts. And doing a little more research and looking back at the scene where the sheriff of Nottingham is he's sitting there and Robin's lulling him to sleep. If you notice, his hands change.
Yeah.
Quite often, because he goes from having 3 fingers to 4 fingers, 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4. At some point, he goes to 2 fingers.
Somebody in the animation department had not studied the character sheet enough to know how many fingers the Sheriff of Nottingham was.
Yeah, because I think in one scene you can literally see where his fingers twirl or they move, and you can see where fingers move in and out of sequence. I'm like, oh my gosh, I never saw that. And like when I saw it on this review, it's like, oh my word, this is like nuts. I said,
this movie is lacking quality control, and that's part of the issue with it. Because I'm convinced they ran out of money in the process, and we're just trying to get the movie out after a point. Because, like we said, some of the shots are freaking awesome and amazing.
Yeah.
And it's followed by this stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. So that is my number 2. What is your number 3?
My third dislike. And like I said, this is very much a nitpick.
Yeah.
But Trigger and Nutsy don't show up until the last quarter of the movie.
Right.
With so many instances of having... And would have been great comedic uses of those characters.
Right.
Before this point, walking around with the sheriff, being his left and right hand man.
Right.
The fact that they don't bring them in until we got to watch the prison because they're just going to be the prison guards.
Yeah.
And admittedly, it makes sense because they're the vultures on the gallows that are going to hang Friar Tuck.
Yeah.
I get that. But I kind of wish they were throughout the movie.
Yeah. Because
they are such good characters and I want more of them.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. My third dislike would be, now granted, this is a nitpick and they chose these actors for various reasons, but the use of the languages on this movie is insane. Meaning the dialects in which people talk is crazy.
You don't like the use of the Southern gentleman as some of our villains that working for super British mustache twirling bad guy. And then an American bear and a British fox having a good time together.
Yeah, it's so off the wall. It's like, okay,
I think we would be in agreement if they had picked one theme and stuck with it.
Yeah.
If it had all British, that are in England, it makes sense.
Yeah.
If it was all Southerners in England,
which is
a little weird, but I could have lived with it.
And you get an American bear.
Yeah, because Baloo would work. Baloo. It is Baloo, but
brown.
Yeah, Brown Baloo works great with those guys. It's just the fact that you've got some who are British and some who are obviously American of many different dialects.
Yes,
is a little off-putting,
just a little bit.
But for whatever reason, at least for me, it kind of melds in a strange way for me.
Yeah,
to where it doesn't bother me, but apparently it bothers you.
Well, it wasn't really that it bothered me. It was just like. I was like, this is really odd. Be like, yeah, it's a great cast. Don't get me wrong. I just thought it was really weird with this supposed to be in Britain.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my third. The one that kind of shocked me the most that you did not bring up.
Who did I miss?
No, you didn't miss anything. I mean, like, I was very surprised. I was very, very surprised.
I couldn't find a Kingdom. That's what you're asking.
No. This is not a Kingdom Hearts reference. This is, reuse of animation or more classic animation layovers. Okay, with all...
I mean, I know the raccoons kind of were mimicking the Three Little Pigs from that early Three Little Pigs Disney short, but
there's so much more.
I know they reused from everything.
Yeah,
and I know Maid Marian and Robin Hood's dancing scene is from Sleeping Beauty.
Oh yeah, that's Sleeping Beauty. There's a lot from Jungle Book. There's a lot of riff from Marissa Katz. And the point I wanted to go in with this,
I'm curious which one you're referring to.
I'm referring to all of them. I'm referring to all of them. All of them, because there's a lot of people out there who want to criticize this film because be like, oh, they were lazy and just wanted to reuse a lot of animation.
As I said earlier, this film was obviously made on a very tight budget, and it shows. I don't know where the budget went because I mean, how much did you say this movie was made on?
$5 billion.
5 billion?
Million.
5 million. Okay. I don't remember how much Jungle Book was made for.
Yeah.
Which is the closest in terms of time.
But Jungle Book was like 7.
Right. So you got another additional 2 million.
Yeah.
They had to cut some corners somewhere. I don't think it comes from being lazy.
I'm sorry. I had a budget of $4 million. Sorry.
They had a budget of $4 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe they were being lazy. I don't know. I know they were just trying to get this stuff done in many ways, and maybe this one got just because of the actors they hired. Because you got so many almost major names in this movie, from at the time, unlike Jungle Book, which the only major name that jumped off the page there at the time was who was it? I can't even remember who it was now, but there was one major name, and everybody else was kind of the same people Disney always pulls.
Yeah.
Maybe they just lost because you had, like I said, we had those 3 actors from classic television over here, plus Peter Ustinov, who's a major actor at the time. Maybe they just ran out of money, and that's why they after they recorded everybody, and that's why they had to reuse some animation in some spots.
All right. So here's the reason from the director.
Guessing on my part.
Yeah. So here's the reason from the director. Because there were, accusations of being lazy and just those accusations. But what an interview he told was the fact that, like, all the animation scenes that they reused, he knew they worked. And so to redraw all those scenes actually cost more money. So they actually put the time in to reanimate all of those scenes by going back over them and reanimate them, because if they would have gone and just did scenes by themselves, it would have been cheaper. But it was actually more expensive to go and reuse scenes from previous films because they worked.
Now, while I will say they don't bother me that much, that may not have been the best choice because apparently it bugged a lot of people.
Yeah.
And admittedly, original always looks better than a copy.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
They don't bother me, admittedly, because I really, once you get into the beginning of the movie and Little John and Robin Hood are stealing from Prince John as cross-dressing fortune tellers,
Yes.
I've kind of already bought into the movie and don't care that animation is being reused.
Yeah.
And this is pretty much the only time where I focused enough that the reuses I did see bugged me. But most of them didn't bug me at all. It was mostly stuff where they were reusing stuff from the same movie.
Yeah.
That bugged me.
Yeah, that's probably one of the main parts. Like, I agree with you on that. So yeah, that is my kind of a bonus number 4. That was real. It's like, okay, because they're
how is it a bonus? This was your number 3.
Well, it's a bonus number 4.
How is it a bonus number 4?
I don't know. Either way,
we both had 3. You didn't bring in a 4th.
Well, no, I threw in a cider, a sidewinder.
Okay. I'll let it go. I'm not going to fight you over it.
Okay.
I'm just confused. Okay, so that's going to bring us to the end of the bulk of review. So let's go into our ratings. I am actually going to give this a 7.
Okay.
A 7 for me. I know we've never really talked about what the ratings mean to us.
Yeah.
But not really. But 7 is... Obviously, it's got problems, but it's still a good movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's still a fun movie.
Yeah.
And there's more to like in this movie than to not like, and it's just a fun movie.
Right.
So, yeah, 7. What are you giving it?
I'm giving it an 8. I'm giving it an 8. I enjoy this film tremendously. It does have its little animation flaws and inconsistencies and dialects all over the place. But it's still a very charming, loving film that just pulls at your heartstrings anytime you watch it. And there again, if you have not watched this film, I highly recommend it. Go watch it. It's just it's a gem. It's a diamond in the rough that needs to be watched.
Diamond in the rough.
Yeah, as the Cape Wonders once said. Yes, go watch this film. It's tremendously well done. Minus its little, all of its flaws and all. It's still a beautiful film to watch, and just go enjoy it. You can watch it anywhere right now. Just watch it legally.
So that brings us to the end of another episode, which means we have to roll for our next one. Let everyone know where we are on the dice. The Muppet Movie is at number 1. It has had 5 episodes. So after the if it doesn't come up this time, after the next episode, it's going to start growing. At number 2, we've got the Lego Batman Movie. It's been on there for twice. After that, at number 3, we've got the Swan Princess, also at number 2. We've got Aladdin at number 4. It's been on 5 times. Number 5, our new one this week, I've decided to put on there Dragon Ball Z: The Dead Zone.
Oh, okay.
This is a interesting movie.
Okay. I got you.
I'll put it this way. I like the movie for its goofiness, but I am in many ways putting it on this list for the same reason you put the Swan Princess on the list.
Oh.
Because it's got issues.
Gotcha.
It's got issues. And plus, I wanted to put another anime on here. And then at number 6, Monsters vs. Aliens. Gotcha. So I rolled... this was my movie, which means it's your roll.
All right. Let's roll that beautiful dice.
And we got number 3, The Swan Princess.
Oh joy.
Oh, Lord help us.
Oddly enough, I actually discovered this film while listening to the Animation Addicts. They're another podcast, which heavily inspired me to do the Cellcast. And so if I'd never listened to the Animation Addicts, or the Rotoscopers, this show wouldn't be here.
All right.
Most likely. So, yeah. So, if you want to listen to another really, really good animation themed show, go check them out.
All right.
They are really good.
All righty. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode.
Yes.
So, cut into audio here. Come, Jacob. We must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
The same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast.
Oh, boy.
So where can they find you, Jacob?
They can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron and Jacob's Daily Art Corner, my personal art Facebook page. On Twitter at Jacob B. Heron. On Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. And on Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. Where can they find you, Drew?
You can find me on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. You can also find my Facebook page at Drew's Photo Bin, where I upload my photography. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759 and Twitter at GGeorge759. Where can they find us, Jacob?
You can also visit our website, thecellcast.podbean.com, where you will find every episode we released and links to listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. Our RSS feed, if we aren't in your favorite podcast app directory, please share, review, and subscribe to us there and share us with your friends.
You will also find a link to our Facebook group, the Double Feature Podcast Community, where we talk about both animated and live-action movies. We share this with our other podcasts, which we do with Jacob's brother Jim, at the Movie of the Week podcast, where we talk about live-action movies. You can also email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. Also, please like our page on Facebook. We try to post about upcoming movies. If you comment on that movie's post before we record, we'll read your comments in the episode. And remember, every time we say The Cellcast, that is with a single L.